If you don't have any of that going on in your business, and where do you start as a business that's as large as we are? We have literally hundreds of thousands of customers. And so thinking about, all right, how do we start embedding AI into this? For us, it was a logical choice to go and buy somebody that already had AI voice, that had AI agents, very specific for FSM, and start being able to embed those into our technology. And so we're already off and running now. We've got it integrated already with Service Fusion for our invoicing products, Joist and Invoice Simple.
Today's episode is brought to you by one of our show partners, UpFrog.
UpFrog is the OG when it comes to pricing transparency online. They find system replacement leads through paid ads and have developed an entire system to drive those hard-to-find system replacement opportunities, nurture the leads, and book them into sold systems before your team arrives to help you grow your business.
Learn more at upfrog.io. I want to give a huge shout out to Marcus Storm for sponsoring today's episode.
You've heard of Google Ads, Facebook ads, and SEO, but did you know that there's an entire ecosystem, like 80% of the internet, that ads can be served on that you barely heard about?
That's where Marcus Storm operates.
They leverage data science and AI to build customer profiles for your ideal customers and get your ads in front of prospects before they are ready to hire a pro, planting your brand in their minds early and often.
To chat with the team about how they can help you grow your business, visit marcusstorm.ai.
All right, we're here live at Service World Expo 2025 in Las Vegas, surrounded by innovators, leaders, and people shaping the future of the trades. And joining us today is someone who's been driving transformation across multiple industries. Josh McCarter, who's the CEO of EverPro. Welcome to the show.
Right on. Thanks for having me, guys.
So, Josh, could you fill us in a little bit about your background?
My background's mostly been in technology. Got out of college and started with this thing called the internet and selling cars online. I was at a business called Auto by Tel. It was the first online automotive car selling service. And we really brought car sales to the internet. And I was there for about 6 years. Started out as an SDR. Grew my way on up into biz dev, and then started raising capital and setting up joint ventures around the world. So it was a great way to launch my career. And then from there, I went into vertical software and SaaS. And so that's, I guess, a bit of what we'll be talking about today.
How did you get into the trades? Because that's a whole different transition.
Yeah, it's a totally different space. I mean, it really came out of vertical software. So before I was CEO of Mindbody, I had built a business that was software, services, and payments in the wellness space. And so we were selling to everybody from blow-dry bars to spas and salons. And then I sold that business to Mindbody, who was really one of the first vertical software companies that started in the wellness space. Public company, had about 65,000 customers around the world. I ended up becoming CEO of that business after I sold my company to it. And so that really kind of gave me the foundation of working with small and medium businesses and helping giving them the tools to really, grow their business and engage with customers. And after I left Mindbody, I got contacted by a PE firm, that big investor in EverCommerce. And they were looking for somebody to come in and help scale up this part of EverCommerce that focuses very specifically on home services, and that's EverPro.
Can you explain, because I know I've been asked this question 12,000 times today probably, EverCommerce and EverPro.
Yeah.
And Service Nation.
How's it all related?
Yeah. How's that?
It is a little complex. Well, I mean, taking a step back, so EverCommerce started out as a payments business that was called Pay Simple. And they started scaling this payments business up and started seeing that they were losing customers to people that were on vertical SaaS with payments. And so the founder said, hey, maybe I should go buy a couple, vertical SaaS companies, put my payments on the back end of that and see how the business grows. And they started scaling really nicely, and ultimately over the course of 5 years bought 54 companies across multiple different verticals. So home services being one of those, but also marketing automation software, EMR, EHR, so like doctor office type software, fitness and wellness businesses. So there was a whole kind of collection of different businesses and software that EverCommerce ended up buying. And then as that business started scaling out, they started looking at, okay, how can we group these more logically together? And so the two that are really the big bets that EverCommerce are making, one is EverPro, so that's what I'm running, which is all of the home services and payments. Okay. And then there's another part of the business that's called EverHealth, and that's the one that's focused primarily on EMR, EHR type software.
So with that having so many different platforms, does that spread you thin, or does it help be more innovative? Because, sometimes you have all this other stuff, you get this confusion going on. And then other times you're like, oh, we have the perfect person over here that can do that and teach you how to do this.
That's a great question. So let's just focus on EverPro, because that's the part I can speak to the most. So 17 acquired companies, 20 different brands. Service Nation is one of those brands as well. And what we've started looking at is how do we start consolidating within those 17 companies and 20 plus brands into just like a little bit tighter focus. And so exactly what you're talking about is, yes, it got to a point where it was a little bit too sprawled.
Yeah.
And now we're bringing it back together a bit more, tight and focused. And so just as an example, like Service Nation is a perfect example of a business that primarily has focused on plumbing, HVAC, and electrical.
Sure.
But on the EverCommerce ecosystem, we've got pest control programs, we've got security and alarm. And so we're looking at now saying, okay, hey, how can we bring some of the best practices that we have in Service Nation? Because building a small and medium service business, whether you're a security and alarm dealer or you're a plumber or HVAC contractor, like those businesses are very similar, right? Because you have a lot of the same kind of growing pains with hiring your team, scaling your team, marketing, generating customers, engaging with your customers, the technology platforms. And so that's where we're looking at how can we leverage that across more and really bring the benefit of some of the products that we have like Service Nation out to other parts of the EverPro ecosystem. And at the same time, looking at areas where we might have 2 or 3 products that basically do the same thing. And then how do we consolidate those down? So here, as an example, we have Guild Quality, and we also have a product called Listen 360. Guild Quality is primarily for contractors. Listen 360, I've got fitness studios and Jiffy Lubes. It basically, it allows you to get feedback from your customers. So think ratings and reviews, reputation management.
Okay.
But Guild Quality is even more specific. Rather than sending out, hey, did we get a 5-star review on this? It actually asks you questions about the service that was performed. How did they leave the job site? Were they there on time? Did they, what did you think about their professionalism when they showed up? So it's more of a questionnaire
Deeper
and
question
actually somebody's
versus
calling
just like
you
a
up.
review system.
Exactly.
You can actually get into how is the performance, what did you feel throughout each part of the journey?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And so it's just like that one level down. So now we're looking at it and going, okay, let's consolidate those tech platforms so that we can have just one stack that we're managing and offer a better product to everybody.
We'll dive a little bit more into software because obviously this is like Tersh and I's love language here.
Yeah,
Let's talk about software, AI, automation, stuff like that. So you've been a part of a lot of SaaS companies, so you know where that's coming. And you look around the room, and there is a ton of software options.
Yeah.
But it can also be very overwhelming for today's contractor because if we talk like a $1 to $5, $1 to $10 million contractor, they still have a lot of hats on. They're trying to figure out what software is right for my business. They're throwing money at something, thinking it's going to solve a problem, and maybe that isn't solving the problem.
Yeah.
What are you guys seeing with the software adoption, and what successful contractors are doing when it comes to that?
The first thing was just coming into this industry, I was really blown away by how advanced people are with software usage, because coming in from the wellness industry, I mean, people were literally still doing pen and paper. I hardly hear.
You should have came into the industry like 5 years ago.
I was going to say, yeah.
5 years ago,
we were still.
What's a CRM?
Yeah.
What's a field service management software?
Right.
So
but that's how it's
changed
advanced,
fast.
right? It's changed fast. And now even just talking with people here at the conference, everybody's interested in AI. They want to know about it. And they're like, on one side, I've heard some people that were a little bit concerned about it. And on the other side, people are going, man, this is really like a new technology that I can harness that's going to streamline my operations and make it so that I can scale my business without hiring so many more people. And so I think that that's really the thing that we're seeing with, with software is that it's something that people are engaging with and that they're trying to figure out how they can use that, but put it more in the background, right? Like you don't want to become an expert programmer or an expert in software. You just really want it to be able to support you so that you can be there, engaging with your customers and growing your team. And so it really depends on the size of the business that you have. If you're just kind of a single truck, the software that's going to be fit for purpose for you is very different than if you've got 10 or 15 trucks and you're managing multiple people and inventory and so forth. And so I think that's the thing that people really need to understand is like, how do they find the right software that's going to be fit for purpose for what they need at that point, and then that can also grow with them? Because one of the worst things to go through is changing software. Like once you're on a software system,
that's
and
painful.
changing over, that is just a brutal process. And sometimes you have to do it because you do outgrow software that you're on, or because maybe your software is not keeping pace with some of the innovation. And so that's one of the things that I really highlight for folks is find something that fits for you now, but that you can grow, that will grow with you. and also look for things that are going to help you with your operations as well as with your marketing, because the more that those can be integrated together, because these days it's really, operations and marketing is so intertwined, right? And so having those combined is really important.
Josh talks about that all the time. He has a digital marketing agency, and we Trade Automation Pros build out automations for these companies. And there's so often that people are like, let's automate this. And our presentation yesterday literally was, you need to optimize it first, and then you can automate it, and then, delegate it. A lot of times people will call us and ask us, what do I use?
Yeah.
There is a lot of confusion, like you said, Josh, you come here and you're like, wow, there's a lot. Like, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
And it can be very confusing at times with you and with EverPro in general. How do you stay on? Because you mentioned, like, is your FSM keeping up with the technology?
Yep.
Like, because it's a large company, how do you ensure that you're keeping up with the pace of the changes? Because, like, Josh and I talk about this all the time. If you tried ChatGPT a year ago and you hated it, try it again, because it's completely different.
Yeah, right.
I mean, if you tried it 6 months ago, it's different. If you tried it 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
I mean, at the beginning of October, they had their dev days, and they announced all kinds of things that they, So, like, how with it changing so often, how are you able to even keep up with that kind?
Yeah, I mean, especially AI, right? I mean, the saying I heard that I love is AI is never as bad as it's going to be today, right? Like the next day, it just keeps getting better, right? Usually what I find is that you've got to stay plugged in with your customers, right? Because you're going to hear what's working and what's not working from your customers, as well as from your team, right? The people that are supporting and selling, you're going to hear where there might be gaps from, like, the competitive dynamics, or just certain things that people are like, hey, I'm having a challenge with this in my business. Help me figure out how to solve it. It's a lot better to get that than to have a bunch of programmers come to you and say, hey, here's a bunch of things that we should deliver that we know people are going to love, because, half the time that misses the mark, right?
Oh, yeah. They're not out in the field.
They're not
doing the work.
Exactly. And so, we'll come up with ideas where we can say, okay, hey, like, as an example, with AI in one of our products, we have something from a field note standpoint where somebody can dictate a field note. It'll go through AI. So it might be a little gibberish, or it might be chicken scratch that somebody just types in text.
That's a big one.
And then we can turn that.
We talk about
then we can turn that into something that's actually a good, like, a well thought out comment on an invoice, and it's automated, right? And so, like, that type of a customer's not going to come to us with that. That's something that we're going to be able to bring to them, but they're going to come to us and say, God, you know what? At the end of the day, I've got to close out 50 different invoices. And when you go through most of the FSMs, you're dragging and clicking and doing all of this. Well, now you can have an agent that goes in and does that and closes out, 50 different jobs, sends the invoices out with payments links. If somebody doesn't pay it, they can have it go into a follow-up. Yeah, exactly. And so that's the kind of stuff that's so cool now.
Well, to your point, you just mentioned all these touch points.
Yep.
I feel like a lot of times, because we're so busy wearing multiple hats, we don't actually zoom out so we can see what the journey looks like and where those actual drop-off points are.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with the marketing
operations.
operations.
Like you listened to the presentation yesterday that we did.
I did. I learned something
in your own presentation. I love it.
But it's so true, because, like, we don't take the time.
Yeah.
Because we have a problem, so we go fix the problem, and then we go to the next problem, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and we just keep fixing problems instead of, like,
taking a step
zoom
back.
out.
Yeah.
Take a day, take a couple days, and just, what am I really trying to fix?
Yeah.
And because typically, if you zoom out, you're going to fix probably 3 or 4 pain points with one solution.
Right.
But if you don't zoom out, you don't know what that is.
Well,
or what is possible for that.
Yeah, and that's what we hope as people come to the show, right? That they're going to be able to get. They're going to sit in a session like yours, or they'll sit in other, topics that we have throughout the week and learn something different about how to run their business, or new technology that's coming out, or a new way to market their business. I mean, if you guys are doing, online marketing right now, the change that's happening in SEO with it, with AIO and everything that's happening, with ChatGPT and Perplexity and so forth, like, that's radically going to change online marketing over the course of the next couple of years.
We got some actually really good. We did a really good, really interesting study, because we have about 150 clients, and we literally had a virtual assistant go through all these different keywords for all these different clients, look at ChatGPT, all the sources documented, all the sources for Perplexity, all the ones for AI overviews, and it is so wildly different. I've told multiple people this, Tersh probably ad nausea heard this. In 2 or 3 years, we're literally going to wish we can go back to the days where Google was the only beast we had to tame.
You complain about Google all the time.
That would change every few months, but
it's like, and it's funny I feel like it's with marketing in general. Email marketing's dead. This is SEO is. It's not. It just evolves. It's evolving. So the way it was is not the way it is. But it's getting harder. Yeah. Which means you need more. And you have to invest more in it, which is not what people want to hear. They're like, oh, I can't just I want Google and get everything I need. No, now we got to rank here. We got to rank here. We got to rank here. We got to have plans for all of those things, which require more resources, more people, more time.
Different strategies for all of them.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So one thing that you were talking about with EverPro, the staying ahead of technology and or ahead of the times and stuff like that. The more you grow, we talk about this a lot because you're talking if you're pro PE, anti PE, whatever. You like the small business or you prefer a large company, and one of the benefits of a really small company is typically you can pivot a little easier. Is it with EverPro being as large as it is and having as much, is it really hard to pivot whenever that has to happen? Or is it something like you pre-plan for the pivot?
Yeah.
How does that even work?
This year for us has really been a transformation year because I came in about a year ago and then ended up recruiting a whole new executive team at the EverPro level because there wasn't one, right? Everything was kind of down more into smaller silos. And so that new executive team has really been planning out kind of the future and where are we going to, invest more? Where are we going to pull back investment? Where are we going to reallocate investment? And so that's really giving us the ability now to be a bit more nimble than just like having like one huge enterprise. We have a lot of different bets that we can make. Okay. And, one of the ones that I was probably the most excited about really leaning into was AI. And so, I mentioned yesterday on the main stage that we bought a company called Zyratalk. Yeah. And we were, here we are. We've got a bunch of companies that we've acquired. And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, man, we've got to really lean into AI because as you look at AI voice and kind of the revolution that's happening there, and then all of the AI agents that are happening, like if you don't have any of that going on in your business, like how and where do you start as a business that's as large as we are? We have literally hundreds of thousands of customers. Yeah. And so thinking about, all right, how do we start embedding AI into this? For us, it was a logical choice to go and buy somebody that already had AI voice, that had AI agents very specific for FSM, and start being able to embed those into our technology. And so we're already off and running now. We've got it integrated already with Service Fusion for our invoicing products, Joist and Invoice Simple. That's going to be the next area. And we have on those products right now over 500,000 customers that are on there. So those are a variety of different field service, everything from pest control to snow removal and so forth. So bringing that type of capability with AI agents that we think is really going to kind of accelerate the growth on those businesses as well.
How do you guys make sure when you're lean into AI that you guys keep the human element?
Yeah.
And one, like your team isn't like, oh shit, are they trying to replace me? Like, because it's on people's minds. Yeah. And I know how we feel about it. Like, honestly, I'm ready to keep adding people. Like people that specific focus of things, but
especially if they're good.
Yeah, if they're good and they're good people. Yeah. But how do you guys do it? I mean, you guys got a lot more employees than we do. So how do you guys approach that?
Well, I mean, first of all, you need people to sell AI, right? So like there's a lot of sales and support and onboarding. One day it might, but it's definitely not there now. But I'd say a couple things. So first of all, like when you adopt a new AI feature, something that's going to be automated, and you guys were talking about this a little bit yesterday too, is that you have to babysit it at the beginning. You have to have somebody overseeing it, making sure that if it's, say, for AI receptionist, that the answers are correct, that the data that's going in there is correct. And you have to go through and test that thing for a week where you're giving it a lot of the prompts, you're giving it the hard edge cases, the things that are tougher for your average CSR to be able to answer so that you can train it to be able to do that. And so I think that oversight in the early days is absolutely critical. And then you always have to have like an eject button, right? Where if somebody's in the middle of talking with the AI and it's not getting the answer, or it's somebody that's just getting really frustrated, they have to be able to say, let me talk to a person, right? Yeah. And be able to kick out so that somebody else can pick that up and run with it.
Hello, home service professionals. Do you want to maximize your marketing budget?
then you need to be using call tracking from CallRail. Let's say you noticed a spike in new leads this month. To find out what's driving them, you just log into your CallRail dashboard. Is my new Facebook ad outperforming my other ads? Or is paid search knocking it out of the park? Or maybe it's time to retire those newspaper ads. Since CallRail assigns a unique phone number to each of my marketing efforts, I know where my best leads come from and which efforts to scrap. CallRail shows you your most cost-effective marketing channels so you can get back to business. Go to callrail.com/SBMpod and try it for free. If you're a contractor with multiple CSRs, check out this Service Business Mastery podcast partner, Lace.ai. Lace uses cutting-edge AI to analyze your phone calls, uncover lost revenue opportunities, and empower your CSRs to convert more leads. You can significantly increase revenue without spending extra on marketing or hiring by using Lace.ai to boost your conversion rates. For the first time, you can gain deep insights into customer needs at scale with minimal effort. Elevate your call center to achieve industry-leading booking rates and revenue. Visit www.lace.ai to book a demo today. Now back to the show.
Today's episode is powered by Xero Systems.
Xero is all about removing the clutter and unnecessary touch points to run your home service business profitably.
They use AI dispatching to get the right tech to the right call automatically and job time efficiency to ensure your entire team runs like a profit-generating machine.
Get a tech upgrade for your business at get.xero.tech/service-business-mastery.
This is in the early days of the voice agents. It's been a while, but this goes back to you need to monitor the tools that you're using. Well, this AI voice agent, like, okay, so a technician calls me or he texts me and says, hey, listen to the phone call that for the call that I'm headed to right now. And I was like, okay, whatever. I listened to it. And he was like, no, you did not. And I was like, I did. In reality, I listened to like the first 30 seconds of it. And the voice was right. The tonality was correct. It wasn't like it was like a robot sound, like, mess up or whatever. He was like, no, you didn't. Because I called him and he hung up and he said, call me back whenever you listen to it. And I said, okay. Like, then I'm worried. And so I listened to the whole thing. And about 4 minutes into the conversation with this homeowner, the AI voice agent starts singing, and not did
it have a pretty pitch or not?
I mean, yeah, much better than me. Yeah. But her name was Sarah, and she started just like, okay, this is what I've got so far, blah blah blah, and starts singing to the customer, and the client did not acknowledge it at all, like just kept going with the conversation. And I was
so awkward. She didn't know what to do. She's like,
yeah.
what?
And so then I was like, all right, Tony, so I called him back. I was like, what in the world? He was like, yeah, you listen to it. I said, all right, Tony, do not say anything to the customer, but just fill her out and say, what do you think about the technology that service companies are using? Like something generalized question, just to see if she says anything about it. And he calls me after the call, so the service call is finished, and he's like, she didn't say anything. She didn't acknowledge it or anything. And I was like, okay, I got to find out. So call the customer, call the client, and was like, did you notice that our AI voice agent started singing to you? Oh, you have an AI voice agent? Well, first off, it says, my name's Sarah. I'm an AI voice agent.
Right.
But, people don't always acknowledge that at the beginning, listen to that. But she was like, no, Service Emperor does some weird things sometimes. So I just figured y'all were going to try out singing. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's it. But yeah, that
you almost should have leaned into that as a marketing ploy.
Yeah. Maybe
in hindsight, right?
But it really, I sent it over to the developers, and they were like, yeah, we'll fix that. And I was like, yeah, we probably don't want to make a habit of that.
Right. Probably not a habit for sure.
Well, but that speaks to the issue of like, if your technician wouldn't have listened to the call, nobody would have known that happened. Right. And it could have happened multiple other times when nobody's even listened to the call and finding out because nobody's over having oversight of technology.
Exactly.
So it's a challenging thing because then it's like adding one more thing to do somebody.
Yeah.
But at some point, the technology will get to the point where like you don't have to oversee it. You can spot check.
Yep.
You don't have to oversee it for. I think I saw one of the banners like. Performing better than maybe it was Evoker, someone performing better than average CSR after like 3 months, And so it gave us that like
After 3 months?
yeah, so like working with it for like
conversion
3
rates
months,
and
and then it's like
everything,
okay, it'll perform better than the average CSR. So which was interesting. I've never seen that before, but
Yeah, I mean, when we were doing diligence on ZyraTalk, it was amazing to see the percentage of calls that go unanswered. Like just before somebody goes on, I see
you're gonna trigger me. You're gonna trigger me.
Yeah. This guy over here.
It's crazy.
I mean,
they spend all the money on driving the leads, and then nobody's there answering
we
the phones.
legitimately
Josh, I'm gonna walk away.
we legitimately created a program for that reason, because inside of their platform they were like, oh yeah, we have a 90% booking rate on the calls you answer.
They don't even answer 90% of their phone calls.
Yeah,
Right,
and
right.
then you're not converting 90%.
Exactly.
And then you're the person that's in charge of marking whether it was a convertible call or not is the person that also gets judged on their conversion rate.
Right.
Like that.
You know what's worse? I was at a digital marketing conference last week and at a client that was, hey, we're slow. And I'm looking at the call volume like, well, this is like one of the best months you've had with us. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I start listening to their calls in Service Titan. It's a husband and wife team. So the wife's in the office. The wife is the one excusing calls where people ask about pricing. Excuse it, not a lead. And I'm like, and this has happened multiple times. I'm looking at the length of the calls, and typically you can tell if it's like a 3-4 minute call. You're like, it's usually a pretty good call. It's not a solicitor or spam. So I listen to those ones, and I'm seeing excuse, and I'm like, but their booking rate says 85 or 86% in Service Titan, and ours says 60, and they're wondering why they're not busy and their board's not full. And I'm just like, you guys have to be honest with yourself. You can't the manipulation of the data inside of these field service management softwares is a big problem.
Yeah.
Garbage
And people hear it, but they don't actually. Oh, that's not me, because they don't do an audit. They don't have This is a great example. We talk about delegation.
Yeah.
Yesterday, optimize, automate, delegate. You can't automate the data auditing, but you can delegate exactly what you want to see and clean up all of that stuff so you actually have good data.
For sure.
Being a CEO of a big company, like if you don't have good data, you're going to make bad decisions.
Yeah.
Sure.
And those bad decisions could cost millions of dollars for top line and bottom line.
We literally had one client that because we listen to a lot of phone calls. We don't personally, but we have a team that's doing it to fact check our platform. And there was a customer that they were like, we can't take your call, or we can't book the service call because we're booked out for 2 weeks. And you look at the schedule and it's like 2 weeks of maintenance calls. And the person that called in said the breaker keeps tripping on the outdoor unit, which means we have a grounded compressor on a 25-year-old system. That's a system replacement.
Yeah, that's a big number.
Let's move that.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to not book that call. And yes, the next available technician is coming your way, And so that's a situation to where you're like, okay, it's not a bookable call, or it's a bookable call, but we were busy, blah, blah, blah. And you need to know that information just as much as you do like the unanswered calls, because then you could say, okay, I need another technician, or I need to slow down on these loss leaders if I'm like putting out loss leaders right now because I actually have some other no calls or demand calls that are being missed because I'm filled up with these $29 tune-up, gets us in the door type deals. So yeah, I do want to ask a question though. As you're bringing on the companies, you're acquiring these companies, are the companies only going to be available inside of your ecosystem, or would they still be available otherwise? And do they do you like engulf them as like, I don't know, that's probably not a good word, but they come in under you,
right?
And then you
and then you shut them off to the outside.
Yeah, and then remove their name or anything like that. I mean, I see on the logo right there, you have ZyraTalk up there.
Exactly.
And ZyraTalk's still on there.
No, so the plan for things that I would say already integrate with third-party systems. So ZyraTalk already integrates with Service Titan and Jobber and House Call Pro and so forth. So the plan is hey, we've got customers that are there. There's demand already that's happening outside of our ecosystem. We're going to continue investing in that and improving those integrations, building up sales and support teams that are going to go after that. And then we're also going to obviously integrate it deeper within our own system so that we have some extra special sauce that we can, because we can control all of the API development for our own systems. So there's certain things that we'll be able to automate that will do better within our systems. But from the standpoint of like, we do want to be able to compete with the same folks that you see here, the Broccoli's and the Avocas and Nexas and so forth, because we think we've got a top tier product and we want to get that into the hands of as many service professionals as we can.
Thank you to Company Cam for supporting today's episode.
These guys are changing the game for contractors with their smart photo app.
Keep your projects documented and streamline your team's communication with even your most complicated jobs.
Try it for free for 14 days and get 25% off of your first 2 months at companycam.com/SBM.
This might be a weird question for you, putting you on the spot here. How does it feel having a product and then having the event with competitors' products at the event at the same time? Because you're very fair. You mentioned that you want to be able to have them here, and like, how does that even?
So the way, again, like when you look at kind of the broader EverPro ecosystem, and then you kind of drill down into Service Nation, Switzerland, man. Like, we want to make sure that this is a industry-wide event, that we can have a variety of different partners that are going to, partners that are competitive with one another, various technology providers that are competitive with one another. And we have to play in that market, right? Because that's what the market is. We're in a capitalist society here, right? And so we have a free market approach when it comes to that. And so we want to be able to highlight, and really at the end of the day, it's like, may the best product win, right? Like, because everybody's going to come in and make a decision about what's right for their business. And, Zyratalk, we think the reason why we bought it was we think it's the best product in the marketplace, but there may be something that one of the other products does a little bit differently that might fit for customer A that's different than customer B. And so everybody should be here and kind of being able to, to make their own decision about what's the right fit.
Nothing ever fits for everybody.
That's right.
There's always a different, and honestly, competition drives innovation. It makes you work harder.
Yep, exactly.
Because if you guys were the only game in town, okay, we'll just keep collecting our check and not really building anything new. But now you're like, I got to keep building because I know they're building, I know they're investing.
Yeah,
and I think it makes a better product for all of the end users
for sure, and also for Service Nation and for Service World Expo. We want to be able to be the thought leader here, right? Where we're bringing new and innovative ideas and new and innovative companies to the forefront, so that there's a reason for people to come back here every year, right? We want to see this conference grow. This year, I was really happy to see that we surpassed not only last year's but 23's registration numbers, and so that was really great to see. And especially for all of the exhibitors, that they have an opportunity to see new people, because we had more new people actually show up this year as well over the last couple of years. So the more that we can drive new blood into this, we can drive, new eyeballs coming in, talking with the exhibitors, experiencing the various different tracks that we have. That's how we think that this is going to grow and add value to the industry.
So we had a few minutes left. I want to transition a little bit into leadership, because I know you've had a lot of leadership positions over your career, and trying to bring all of these different things together so you're rowing the same direction is not an easy thing to do. The bigger you get, the more brands you manage, the harder it is, because you got people with different backgrounds and things
different
like
ideas.
That. How do you approach that, and how do you get everyone rowing the same direction so they see the big overall picture, but they're piece of that picture?
It's not easy. It is definitely not easy. I mean, again, this was 17 acquired companies and 20 different brands, and everything was really run in different silos. And so as we came in, the first thing was we had to paint a vision for, like, hey, where are we taking this business, and why does it make sense? Like, you got to paint that kind of vision of where you want to go. And then you talk about the strategy, about how you're going to get there. How are you going to prioritize? How are you going to organize? And really make people be able to see how do they fit in that, right? Because if they don't connect with the vision of where you're taking the business, and then they don't see themselves in the strategy or within the priority, then they're going to disconnect, right? And especially in this kind of day and age where, most of the world is operating in a hybrid environment, right?
Sure.
And especially this business that acquired companies all over the country, and then COVID hit, right? And then they closed down a lot of different offices. We're a remote first business. And so really getting everybody to feel kind of connected and excited about that future, and then building a culture around that, right? And I would say that we're just in the very early days of building the EverPro culture. And a lot of it is going to be driven by the new leaders that we're bringing in. And so you've got to have kind of like, your company values and your cultural norms and how you want to engage with people, because that's either going to attract people or it's going to push people away. And, as an example, like one of the things that we're really trying to push is speed of execution and accountability. Well, that's not for everybody, right? And so we'll see some people that are going to probably decide to exit stage left, and we'll bring in new people that are aligned with that, with that direction of where we want to take the business. And then kind of throughout all of that is communication and how do you bring people along and make sure that you have transparency in your communication. You're telling them, frequently, because you always have to say the same thing over and over several times, and you got to say it a little bit differently as you're talking with folks to really bring them along and make sure that they're staying connected with, okay, here's the vision of here's where we're going. Now we're on this path, and here's where we are on the path. And then here's what's coming next, and here's how you fit in with that, and here's how we want you to show up with the team, and how we expect you to engage, and that's really how you kind of bring everything together.
It's almost like you optimize the process prior to delegating it.
Yeah.
Just in case you weren't at our keynote yesterday and didn't hear that 18 times.
Talk about repeating it constantly.
Right.
Do for people listening to this, because we have a lot of managers, owners, business leaders that listen to this podcast, from your career, just your experience in general, not necessarily related to EverPro, but any leadership advice for people that maybe they're not a great leader, but they're aspiring to be a great leader and really lead the vision of their company forward and where they should put their focus and energy?
I'm a big believer in leading from the front, right? And it sounds obvious, but it's not everybody leads that way, right? And so that's really about, how you show up to your team, how frequently are you communicating? Are you doing town halls? Are you rallying your team? Are you a culture carrier? Do you care about the culture in your business? And I had to, if we go back to Mindbody, when I was leading that business, COVID hit. Right here, we've got 65,000 customers around the world, hundreds of thousands of users that are logging into our system. And then almost overnight, like you couldn't go into a gym or a spa or a salon. And so all of these businesses closed. And we ended up actually having to lay off like 600 people in our company within weeks of when COVID started causing shutdowns in the U.S. What we saw really quickly is that, people are looking for leadership in those really difficult type of situations. And it gave us an opportunity not only to lead our team, but really to lead the industry, because we were able to come out with, information about, okay, hey, where do you go as a spa or salon or fitness business to find out what's going on in your community? How do you start engaging with your customers through virtual activities and really bringing that leadership and being visible and present? I think that that's one of the most important parts of leadership. And the second thing, people historically, talked a lot about servant leadership. And what I like is a word called empowerment leadership. It's really about empowering your team to make decisions and to execute and to be okay to fail. Don't fail a bunch of times on the same thing. That's a problem. Be okay to fail and pivot and learn and then go back and execute again. When you give people the responsibility and the accountability and you clear the path for them, like that's also that's empowering for them, right? Yeah. And so that's a leadership style that I subscribe to.
Ownership of the task.
Yep.
Like we always talking about the ownership mentality, and I wish more people would own this. If you micromanage them and then
you swoop in every time there's a problem,
and then they don't own it, then it's like, why would I care?
Yeah.
You're just going to take it away from me if I'm successful and then berate me if I'm not successful. Like, whatever. I'm just here to do my task.
Tell me what to do and I'll just go do it. They're not thinking for themselves or innovating.
We talked yesterday, 80% is perfect. Like 80% is enough whenever somebody... It's gooder enough. Then...
That's in South Georgia.
Yeah, right. So it's one of those things where you have to let them fail and then don't berate them whenever it does happen. And then there's a lot of times where, like we talked about, allowed others to start delegating things to other team members. And all of a sudden it's like, boom, they're amazing. They're way better than anything we envisioned. And they're coming up with ideas and like, hey, let's do this. We have one of our podcast managers. She literally is like, hey, Tersh, Josh, what do you think about doing this? And we're like, that's a great idea. Yeah, let's do it.
Right.
And if it fails, it fails.
Yeah.
It's what it is.
You want to solicit ideas from your teams. I mean, I always find that some of the best ideas that we get either come from our customers or come from a frontline employee. It comes from somebody that's on the phone with customers, whether they're in sales or in support. because they're going to pull things out of what's happening in the day-to-day that you don't hear, right? And unfortunately, especially as you get into a bigger company, the further up you go and the further away from the customers, from a day-to-day, you just don't hear those things as much. And so that's what we really want to pull that out of our team.
People want to learn more about EverPro and how to connect with the products that you have. What's the best way for that?
Yeah, so here at the show, you've got a nice booth over there.
Yeah.
And so that would be, we have people representing multiple aspects of EverPro. And so that would be the best place to stop by. But if you're listening to the podcast and you're not at the show, go to everprosolutions.com. And that's kind of the home site of all of our different products. We're actually in the process of going through a big rebranding. So, by the time we reconnect next year, we'll have a new website and we'll have a new content available for people to take a look at. And check out ZyraTalk too, because it's super cool. I mean, what these AI agents and the AI voice reception are doing these days, it's really amazing stuff.
Yeah, we've talked to Bradley several times.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
he's a good dude.
Yeah. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Everybody that's in the crowd, we appreciate y'all hanging out with us as well. Everybody again soon. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Service Business Mastery. Now that you are equipped with essential business advice from this impactful conversation, you are one step closer to becoming the successful owner of your dreams. If this episode has been helpful to your business journey, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and share it with other owners as well. Visit servicebusinessmastery.com to learn more.